I'm an 18-year-old male. I was adopted by a couple who separated shortly after my adoption, and I was eventually taken away from them and placed into foster care when I was 3. So that's where I grew up. Recently, I acquired details about my biological parents from a family friend who helped connect them to my adoptive parents all those years ago. So I looked them up online, and they have 3 kids, a boy teen and twin girls, young teens. The son has the same name as mine. A few weeks ago, I went to the church they go to and saw them from a distance. I didn't introduce myself. I just wanted to see them before they knew who I was. I also figured out where they live, where the kids go to school, where they work, and other general information. About 2 weeks ago, I finally sent a message to my mom, explaining who I was and telling her that I would like to meet them. She saw the message that day but didn't reply for a whole week, and then just sent a very short note telling me that they're not interested in knowing more about me or having me in their lives, not to contact her or her family ever again. I sent a message to my dad then, and he said we could have a phone call. We had that call last week. He didn't even let me tell him anything about myself. He explained that they had me when they were 22 and didn't want a child back then, so they gave me to another couple, and there's really nothing for us to discuss. He said he didn't want to know more about me or hear from me again. I'm not gonna lie, that was difficult to hear, and I needed a few days to process it. But I get it. They didn't want me then, and they don't want me now. I'm trying my best to get over it, but I still have 3 siblings. Maybe they would want to get to know me. So I sent another message to my dad and thanked him for taking the time to speak with me and being frank about what he wanted. I explained that I respect the fact that he and my mom don't want me in their lives, and that's their choice, and I will respect that. However, I have 3 siblings and I would like to meet and get to know them, so I said I'm happy for them to tell them. He called me an hour later. This time he was angry and told me that he had made it clear that I had no place in their family and that I should stay away from all 5 of them forever. He said the kids don't know about me, and it'll stay that way. I wasn't expecting him to call me or the aggression, so I was kind of shocked. But I was like, but that should be their choice. And he said he's not going to discuss his family with me. Ended the call by saying, do not contact any of us ever again. Am I the idiot if I went to talk to my siblings, introduce myself, and let them know they have an older brother? I'm not trying to be an idiot here, but I don't think the parents get to make this decision about the children. I do want a relationship with my siblings. Of course, only if they want that too. If my siblings don't want to get to know me, I'll stay away from them. You are the idiot, but not once the eldest turns 18. Reach out to him then, and he can decide whether to tell the younger sisters. If he doesn't, reach out to them when they turn 18. Just be sure to respect any boundaries they set. I would advise waiting until the girls are 18. Everyone involved would be an adult by then. However, I think OP should consider something besides reaching out to his siblings. OP, go get registered on an ancestry site or 23andMe. Let the ball roll from there. Overall, I think it's very interesting that their second son has the same name as you do. And well, they probably don't want to explain to that son the possible reason is that he was your replacement for when they were ready for kids. Going with this route, they may be able to cut you off from your siblings for now. However, they won't be able to control the actions of relatives who want to get to know you. Not only will DNA testing reveal this, but it sounds like they all live in the same general area. Some people know enough about the situation to put OP in touch with the bio parents, and the 2 boys have the same freaking name? This isn't going to remain a secret, and there's going to be tension between the parents and the siblings, because most kids aren't thrilled when they find out that their parents lied to them. You are the idiot. You're prepared to upend children's lives to satisfy your desires and cause significant emotional distress. And for what? Do not contact them. Leave those poor children alone and go get therapy for yourself. Sounds like you've been through a lot and you're now looking for a quick fix, ready-made family. My girlfriend Jen, 19 female, and I, 19 male, are both done with school for the summer. She has a brother, young teen, and sister, tween. When she and I go somewhere like the beach or park, she wants to bring her siblings along. She says they'll spend the whole summer sitting around the house if she doesn't take them to fun places. Jen isn't working right now, but I am. So if we do something that costs money, I pay. Sometimes it's annoying because her siblings don't say thank you or show any appreciation and act like it's my job or expect it. Jen doesn't want me to tell their parents when they misbehave. Parents ask because she thinks they won't want to spend time with her. So basically, they can be as annoying as they want and nothing happens. Anyway, yesterday after work, we went to the beach. They weren't listening and were acting up the whole time. We all brought a bottle of water along. I finished mine before we left. Both kids still had most of their water left. When we were in the car, I said I'd be right back and ran to the pavilion to get a soda from the vending machine. I got myself a Mountain Dew and Jen a lemonade. They were like $4 each, so I definitely wasn't buying the kids one. When I returned to the car, I gave her the lemonade, and she asked if I got them sodas. I said no, they still have water left, and I'm not rewarding their bad behavior. Besides, last time they had soda, they left them back there half drank. My car isn't their garbage can. She gave them some of her lemonade. After we dropped them off, she said it's not my job to parent them. I said I wasn't parenting them, but I wasn't buying them a reward for acting up all day. She said you couldn't withhold food and drink from a kid when they misbehave. I said they both still had water. If they were thirsty, they had something to drink. She said, you know all kids want soda over water. That meant basically, ha ha, you don't get none. You were a bully to the kids. I said, when I was a kid and misbehaved, my parents wouldn't get me a treat. She said, yeah, your parents, but you're not their parent. I said, no, but it's my money, not our money, and gestured between her and me. And I didn't want to spend $8 on sodas they wouldn't finish. She said I was being an idiot and wanted to go home, so I took her home. I don't have kids, so maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't get rewarded for being a brat when I was a kid. Am I the idiot for not getting them a soda? Not the idiot. Your girlfriend's the idiot for acting entitled to your hard-earned money. She or her parents can pay if she wants stuff bought for her siblings. And 100%, you two are the adults in this situation, and therefore can enforce the rules on the kids. So basic manners aren't too much to ask. Usually babysitters make money to spend time with kids. This poor dude is losing money. Is he sure his girlfriend isn't pocketing money her parents gave her for her siblings? I'd also start telling the actual parents the truth about how the kids are behaving. She's right, you're not their parents. So there's no reason you need to have them tag along anytime you want to do something with your girlfriend. You need to reconsider if you want to be in this relationship and lay down an ultimatum. No more kids tagging along on your dates. You certainly shouldn't pay a dime for them. If she doesn't like that, you should consider ending things because it doesn't sound like her family situation is compatible with you. When your girlfriend says you're not their parents, she's so close to getting the point. So close. They're using you and taking advantage of you. Stand up for yourself. My son is going to an expensive school next year, and I'm financially nervous about it. It's close to $16,000 a year after aid. I'm suddenly worried about providing for my younger sons. I'm a single dad, now that I have this financial monkey on my back. A few weeks before my son graduated, his class had an assembly where they gave out scholarship money. The money was raised from foundations or groups like Rotary. My son won 2 awards totaling $10,000. The problem was that we thought we were on the same page regarding the money. I said it was going to be used for school, and he agreed. I meant that it would be used to pay me back since I already paid for a school, and he meant that he would go to college with $10,000 to spend as he sees fit. Of course, he says that it's his money, and I'm saying it's not. It's for college, and since I paid for it, it goes to paying me back. I would never have to factor that money into everything if I had known he was getting it. I told him I was not messing around, and all I had to do was tell the teacher who was in charge of distributing money to send the check in my name. He will do it. Of course, I'd rather have my son see it my way before having to override him like he's 11. Edit. He didn't earn squat. The teacher in charge of the money said it was more of a popularity contest and gave bragging rights to the school and donors to say that they sent kids to UCSB. You are the idiot. You should have had a serious conversation with your son about this long ago. Also, you saved this up for him to pay you back? Most parents save up a college fund for their kids for exactly that, to get them through college. That's it. No exceptions for their kids to pay them back. Sorry you had more kids than you planned for, but it's kind of crappy of you to expect your child to do that. Shouldn't you be happy that your kid made it to college, got those scholarships, and support him, instead of dogging him about money? Not the idiot. People who donated that money for the scholarship, I'm sure, did not intend for it to be used for whatever. They donated with the intention that it would be used for tuition, books, and room. I don't think the father has the right to the money, but it isn't the kid's money to do whatever he feels like with it. That is not in the spirit of a scholarship. You are the idiot. You also can't take claim of his scholarship money. If he's an adult, the money will be legally made out in his name. You can restart a savings account and hope you'll be able to help out your boys, or they will have to rely on student aid and loans if they choose to go to college. Legally, you have no right to tell your son you now own his award money. He could take you to court and fight you for it. You'll have a huge issue on your hands, and most importantly, you'll strain the relationship with your son. I can already tell you're not going to put the money aside for your other children. You have a troublesome personality. Did you already spend it? My wife, 33, and I, 35 male, recently got married. We decided on a child-free wedding because we wanted people to be able to relax, have a good time, and not have to worry about screaming babies. When asked about this, my mother-in-law told every one of her relatives that they, of course, were an exception and we would be delighted to welcome their children. By the time we learned of this, flights and hotels had already been booked, and mother-in-law threw up her hands and said, "Well, what was I supposed to tell people to do with their children?" After offering some suggestions about what they could do, some further suggestions as to where she could stick what, and a few words a lot more harsh than an idiot, my father-in-law stepped in, apologized, and we came to an agreement. We would allow the children to attend, and mother-in-law and father-in-law would pay for all additional head counts. Everyone would be told that they were responsible for keeping their children under control, and if they didn't, they would be removed. This meant babies were to be brought into the cry room at the church if crying. Children were not to run around the reception, and no part of the ceremony was to be interrupted. I had the absolute right to have someone removed if their children were not under control. Mother-in-law took this to mean that if someone's kids were acting up, she'd have time to address it and fix things. I will admit, people were good for the most part. However, we had a few babies crying in the church. A few kids were being loud, but their parents controlled them and quieted them. Then came our first dance. We were about a minute into the song when I heard people start laughing and whooping. I looked over to see a child had run onto the dance floor and started dancing with her arms in the air. I recognized her as the 2-year-old daughter of my wife's cousin. I looked around for her mother and found her laughing and filming her daughter on her cell phone. We finished our dance and I walked over to the venue staff and instructed them to remove her and her daughter from the reception. 2 minutes later, my mother-in-law came flying over screaming that she didn't do anything wrong and I couldn't remove her. I replied that she'd broken the rules. This is why I didn't want children there, and she had to go. My wife agrees with me but feels bad that her cousin traveled from Louisiana and had to leave the reception. She also hates that her mother is not speaking to us anymore. Her mom says that I'm cruel, evil, and hate children. Father-in-law agrees that the rules were broken and I had the right to kick them out, but thinks a warning would have been appropriate. I contend that we only get one first dance, and knowing what would happen, rather than to try to control the situation, her cousin decided to laugh and film her daughter, ruining our first dance. Had she gotten her daughter off the dance floor immediately after it happened, I would not have done anything. Not the idiot. The cousin cared more about making a funny video than respecting your first dance at your wedding reception. You could have spent all night issuing warnings, or you could have enjoyed your reception. Instead, you chose to act quickly and then enjoy it. Your wedding, your rules. Your mother-in-law and wife's cousin are major idiots. Your mother-in-law should have told people to ask you and or your wife directly if she was uncomfortable telling them no children to begin with. And you're not wrong for asking the cousin and child to leave. I would be frustrated too if I didn't want children there, Made an exception, and then our first dance was ruined by a child. Mother-in-law will come around once she gets over herself. A toddler dancing took the attention off of me for a minute, so I had them and their mom kicked out. Dear God, you are the idiot. Music was playing, and a kid was dancing. That's not running around and screaming. You went nuclear when a kid acted like a kid. What a crappy story to have about you on your wedding day. My brother and his ex-wife divorced 3 years ago. They have a 10-year-old son. They have joint custody. My nephew usually spends some time at our place every week. This is his dad's time. His mother's religious and doesn't eat pork, which is her choice. Their divorce decree also says she's responsible for religious matters. Again, not my concern. When it comes to food, my nephew eats the same food that the rest of the family eats. He's of course free to not eat what he doesn't want to eat. We're not telling him he must eat pork. But if we're eating pork and he wants to eat it too, we don't stop him. If he asks me to make something different, I'll do that. But he always eats the same food as everyone else. So my ex-sister-in-law called me yesterday and told me to stop feeding him pork. I told her that he eats whatever he wants, and I'm not going to enforce her eating guidelines on my nephew. Also, not really my problem. She should talk to her ex-husband if she has any concerns. I checked with my brother. She'd already tried to talk to him and he told her to screw off. So apparently, what happened was that my nephew asked his mom to make pork ribs because he ate them here and loved it, and that caused all of this. My husband says I could be more cooperative if I wanted to, only to keep the peace. I don't see how I should inconvenience myself by enforcing someone else's religious eating restrictions on her son, especially when the kid loves the food anyway, and his dad doesn't mind. Am I the idiot for not being respectful of her wishes? You are the idiot. It's a pretty simple request. Don't make pork on the day the kid comes over. Do you not eat anything else? It's not some big inconvenience. It's a religious matter, which means the mom makes the decision. You and your brother are being petty because of your beef with your ex-sister-in-law. Pun intended. It's also an idiot move to argue that it's the child's responsibility to advocate for himself and ask for a different meal if he doesn't want to eat pork. That's a lot to put on a 10-year-old, to decide if it's more important to politely eat the food that has been made for him by a family that knows he's not supposed to eat pork, or follow the religion he practices with his mom and stand up to the adults. I've been that child. Whenever the non-Jewish side of the family babysat me, my grandmother especially, they would always happen to be eating pork that day. I would always find it hurtful that they never remembered I couldn't have it. Though years later, I realized that it really wasn't accidental, and I always had to choose how to handle it, which was just different sorts of stressful. Not the idiot. She's your ex-sister-in-law. If your brother doesn't have an issue with his son eating pork, then you're doing nothing wrong. It's called joint custody for a reason. You also go out of your way to make him something else if he doesn't want to eat what you're eating. With prices of groceries, that's going above and beyond aunt duties. Not the idiot. My oh my. I'm honestly very surprised that people are dragging you over the coals when you'll make something else if the kid asks. And it sounds like he likes pork. I guess forcing your religion and eating habits on a child old enough to say, I do or don't like that, is normal to his mom. I'm not sure at what age a child gains bodily autonomy, but since forcing grandma's hugs on a toddler is traumatizing, I imagine forcing food choices on a tween is bad too. Oh, the ignorant, foolish hypocrites are out today. I, female 36, have a son, a young teen, from my previous relationship. I've been married to Michael, male 42, for 2 years. He also has a son, teen, from his previous relationship. We're not wealthy, and right now, I'm the one earning money to provide for the family. So I have a strategy consisting of saving money to prepare for any occasion, like a birthday or a trip. For my son's birthday, which will be in a month, I've saved money to be able to throw him the celebration he always wanted: paper decoration, cake, gifts, food, etc. My stepson's birthday was last week. My husband doesn't share finances with me, and when he used to have a job, he'd pay for all of his son's needs. Now I've picked up the slack, but there's only so much I can do with my salary. My husband talked about wanting to throw his son the perfect birthday celebration, but didn't know where to come up with the money to pay for it. He asked to use my son's birthday savings and promised to pay me back in time, but I refused because he was unable to make money. He hinted about how I treat my stepson as less than, etc., etc. The party took place at a restaurant, an expensive one at that, and when I asked my husband about the money, he said he borrowed it from a friend. I later discovered that he'd used my son's birthday savings, all of them. This dumbfounded me. My reaction was to blow up on him and have a big argument. In his defense, he said he was desperate and that I can't blame him for wanting to make his son happy. I called him selfish, told him these savings were supposed to go towards my son's birthday, and demanded that he pay everything back. He didn't say anything. He went out and returned and kept on about how he was just trying to make his son happy and how I should understand that as a parent, as a father, it's his job. He then said if I really care about his son the way I say I do, then I'll stop asking for the money. Am I the idiot for insisting on getting the money back and refusing to back down? Not the idiot. You don't share finances. So not only did he steal, but he also lied. He says you're playing favorites, but he stole from your child to please his child. I'd reconsider the relationship, especially since he has no way of paying it back. Yep, he stole is the important word here. OP needs to report this to the police as theft, or at least say she's going to, unless he pays it all back by the end of the month. Then if he doesn't pay, report it. Honestly, I would divorce him over this and take it to the police if he doesn't pay back before my kid's special day. He didn't even take half. He took all of it. He could have taken half and maybe gone to a less fancy restaurant. You provide for his son, OP. What does he do for yours? And a job as a father is not to steal from a child to give to his. Info. Where's your stepson's mother? Or your in-laws? How come he couldn't ask them for money? This is financial abuse. You are the idiot if you stay with this man and allow him to keep using you and your family. Why are you with someone who would abuse you and your children financially? He will do this again if he hasn't already. Lock down all your finances so he cannot touch them. Get a lawyer. Demand a judge to tell him to pay you back. Turn the tables on him and tell him that he must not care about your son to steal his birthday party. What a loser. Gather your ex-husband's belongings and tell him he has two choices. He can sell them and give you the money back, or pack them because there's no way you and your child will live with a financially abusive tool. Seriously, either he pays up and tells his son what he did, or he needs to move out. Lock down any savings you made for your son's education and change your passwords. Please also talk with your stepson and tell him what his dad supposedly did for him. He needs to know that the ensuing crazy show is not his fault. Poor child. I'm a 56-year-old mother to 33-year-old Kelly and grandmother to teen Opal. Kelly became pregnant with Opal in her late teens. My husband Eddie and I have always believed in having the right to choose. However, Kelly insisted that she wanted to keep the baby and not give it up for adoption. We helped a lot as Kelly was only 17 when Opal was born. However, Kelly would rarely help with parenting, even when she was available. Even asking her to watch Opal for an hour while we ran errands was an issue. In addition, it was rare that Kelly wouldn't complain about why she had to be there to look after Opal. Kelly chose not to attend college after graduation. She had a job with a flexible schedule, yet she rarely made herself available for Opal. Kelly was only home to sleep or get dressed for some party. She also relied on us to purchase supplies and book appointments for Opal. Eddie and I would talk seriously with Kelly that she needed to step up as a parent. Unfortunately, Kelly would only make empty promises and never follow through on them. Kelly moved out when Opal was 6. Kelly comes around maybe once a fortnight and for holidays, but Eddie and I have been the ones to raise Opal. Opal is doing extremely well. She has good friends, plays tennis, participates in volunteer projects, and plans to be a marine biologist after graduation. The school year ended for Opal last week, so we had a nice dinner to celebrate her good grades. Kelly came, along with several other family members. We were all chatting and enjoying dinner together when Kelly stood up to make an announcement. She announced to us that she was pregnant with her boyfriend's child. We were already upset because this was supposed to be Opal's special moment, and Kelly announcing her pregnancy was utterly inappropriate. Eddie and I said nothing, and Kelly started to say how she and her boyfriend were so busy with life right now, then began to talk about how grateful she was that we would always look after our grandchildren, and how since we had gained so much joy from raising Opal, we would be even happier raising this second baby. After Eddie and I called her out, Kelly confirmed that she had expected us to adopt and raise this second baby. Kelly said she and her boyfriend didn't have time to raise a baby, but that putting up the baby for adoption would be throwing it away. She assumed we would have no troubles or opposition to raising a newborn baby at almost 60 years old. Eddie and I interrupted Kelly and told her we would have nothing to do with raising this new baby and would not be providing anything for it, supplies, childcare, etc. Kelly flipped out and an argument ensued. Kelly called us heartless and claimed we were willing to throw our grandchild away. Eddie and I called her selfish for expecting us to raise another child. We're too old to raise a baby. Kelly's 33 and needs to grow up. Give the baby up for adoption or be a parent and raise it yourself. Kelly left in tears. Now the family is broken into sides. The ones agreeing with Kelly say that we adopted Opal and are sending a message that we don't care about our newest grandchild. Others say we should have taken her aside privately instead of shooting her down in front of everyone, and our reaction was cruel. Eddie and I feel that we had to be blunt with Kelly and not sugarcoat reality. Am I the idiot? 100% not the idiot. How are they 33 and didn't even take care of their first child and expect you to do the same? It's time for her to grow up and accept the responsibility she's making for herself. And she ruined Opal's party. Poor girl. Exactly. Reading this, I was legit shocked. OP's daughter is way too comfortable being a deadbeat parent. This lady dared to hijack a party to celebrate her first child, who she did not raise, to announce that she's pregnant again and expects to toss the new kid at her parents? Who does that? How can you feel entitled to decide when and how someone else becomes a parent? And to announce that she plans to abandon a second child so publicly? Does this woman have no shame? Any family members who are angry at you, message them back and tell them, I'm sorry you feel that way, but your concern for Kelly, her boyfriend, and soon-to-be newborn is heartwarming. I'll be sure to pass on to Kelly that as a doting aunt, uncle, or cousin, you're willing to step up and provide physical care and monetary assistance to raise your niece or nephew or second cousin. There are always a bunch of family members who are to give you crap for not doing something that they're not willing to do. For background, I'm recovering from an eating disorder. Part of my recovery means that if I'm hungry, I need to eat. I need to get used to responding to hunger by eating. If I don't eat when I'm hungry, it can become a habit, and I could relapse. I know that's hard for many people to understand, but it's the best way I can explain it. I always carry snacks to accommodate this. My boyfriend asked me to attend a family event with him at his aunt's house. Dinner was at 6:30, but the gathering started at 4, and we were on time. Around 5:30, I started to feel hungry, and so I ate a small granola bar from my purse to reinforce the eat when you're hungry rule. Dinner was at 6:30 and was excellent. When we left, my boyfriend was upset. He said I offended his family by eating a snack before dinner was served and implied they were bad hosts. He said I should have waited. I reminded him that I have to eat when I'm hungry. He said dinner was in an hour and should have been sufficient to enforce the rule, but it doesn't work that way. I have to eat as soon as I realize I'm hungry, or it's a slippery slope that could lead to me going days without food. My boyfriend was angry and accused me of just wanting attention and being inconsiderate. Should I have waited? Was I being too rigid? Am I the idiot for eating my granola bar right before dinner? Not the idiot. You're exactly correct, and your boyfriend is more concerned with appearances than your well-being. I knew a girl who had a similar issue she was working through. Her boyfriend would carry a little cooler anytime they went out with yogurt, carrot sticks, and other snacks for her in case she didn't have any snacks of her own. Also, if boyfriend is concerned about appearances, he should be embarrassed that his parents didn't have a grazing platter of some kind out when they had a guest over. Come on, at least put out a bowl of chips. Would the boyfriend be so upset about appearances if, say, she needs to eat because she has diabetes? You know what, he probably would be. Anyways, the point is, it is medically necessary for her to eat when needed, whatever the reason is, physical or mental. The boyfriend is showing very callous disregard for her needs and well-being. If his family were so offended by a granola bar, then it was up to him to explain that it's for health reasons. Instead, he stayed quiet and scolded you for doing exactly what your doctor or nurse advised you to do. Plus, it's a granola bar, not a 3-course meal. Your boyfriend is supposed to support you, and it doesn't sound like he is. When I, 28 female, was 18, I had to give birth to my daughter, Farah. No choice for me. I wanted to give her up for adoption, but Dave, her dad, was able to take her. In exchange for giving him full custody, we settled on me not paying any child support. I did not give up my parental rights. I thought I did what was best for me at the time. It let me focus on getting my degree, have fun, and start my own business, which has become wildly successful. When not studying or working or clubbing, however, I was very depressed and torpedoing every relationship I was in because I regretted my decision. Last year, my dad died, and I inherited almost everything. This has pushed my wealth into 8 figures when you add property and stuff. It just made me more depressed because I never got to fix things with my dad. And it's like I have all of this, but for what? So I finally decided to be brave and reach out to Dave, because maybe if I could have Farah in my life, I could be happy. Dave set up a meeting last year, and as soon as Farah saw me, she rushed to me and hugged me and called me mommy. It was amazing, and I honestly started crying. It has been so great since getting to know her, picking her up from school, hearing about her day, helping with homework, getting to hug and kiss her. Even getting yelled at by her when she's upset is something I wouldn't give up. And I hate that I wasn't part of this before. It's like I have a real purpose and this money finally means something. I don't try and flex my wealth on Dave or his wife, Lydia, but they've made remarks about how cool Farah thinks my car is, or how I have a cleaning lady. But I never bought anything for her without clearing it with them first. In exchange for visitation, I've paid back child support and paying it now to have her in my life. We currently have a meeting to restructure the custody agreement so I can get her on the weekends. Yesterday was Farah's birthday, and the party's on Saturday, but as a surprise, I got her one of those toy Jeeps that kids ride around the block in and a full street hockey setup, and those are the first gifts I didn't clear. She loved that so much, but Dave and Lydia got upset. But I was like, if we're restructuring the custody, I shouldn't need their approval to buy things anymore. Lydia pointed out how expensive it was and called me an idiot for using money to win Farah's love instead of putting in hard work as she has. What she said has been troubling me, and maybe I have been like that. So I'm here to ask, am I the idiot? I don't think idiot is the right word, but I see Dave and his wife's point of view entirely. You didn't raise her, and now you're stepping in after 10 years and playing the superhero with the wealth they never got to accumulate because they were taking care of a baby. It must suck for them. Although it seems like you're doing everything right by paying back child support, clearing gifts with them, etc., a classy move would be next time to have the big expensive birthday Christmas gift be from all 3 parents, and each of you gets her something small and affordable from you. I will also say that this little girl is going to be a teenager very soon and is going to start to establish a sense of who she is and where she came from. And with that, she's going to start questioning who you are and where you were for 10 years. So I would advise getting into family therapy with your ex and his wife, you and your daughter, to help her work through the next few years as she grapples with the perfectly normal abandonment or resentment issues that may come up. My 25 female, parents divorced when I was 10. My dad got remarried to Julie when I was 14. Julie has always accepted that she's my step-parent and has never tried to force a relationship with me. As a result, we have a great relationship. She listens to me, gives great advice when I need it, and I can confide in her. She helped review my college entrance essays, has given me tips on interviewing, etc. She and my dad complement each other so well, and she's just an all-around wonderful person and friend to me. My mother got remarried to Jerry when I was 15. Jerry is the polar opposite. He's overbearing, egotistical, and obnoxious. He's always ready to give unsolicited advice. It doesn't matter if you don't need it, or even if you're not facing a problem. Any topic of discussion starts with him saying, "What you need to do is." However, my mother adores him and thinks he's hung the moon. Jerry fancies himself as a second father to me, although I've made it clear that I already have a father and don't need another. Now the issue. I'm engaged to Ryan, 27 male, and we're planning our wedding. When I put together my bridal party, I thought of Julie being one of my bridesmaids since we're great friends, so I asked her and she accepted. However, when my mother and Jerry found out, they were upset that I didn't have a role for Jerry. He wants to give me away, or give me away with my dad, and I shot that down. Then they talked about Jerry having a dance with me. Again, no, that's reserved for my dad only. And Ryan doesn't want Jerry and his group of groomsmen. Jerry thinks it's unfair that Julie gets a role, and he doesn't. Honestly, I wouldn't care about Jerry's hurt feelings, except my mother's now getting upset. She called me and said I was hurting her by not having a role for Jerry. And I explained that Jerry's part is to be your companion and support during the wedding. That Julie and I simply have a relationship that Jerry and I don't have. She ended the call by saying ominously, "I don't want to make a difficult decision, but you're forcing my hand." So now I'm afraid she won't come to the wedding unless Jerry attends. Julie heard about all this and has graciously offered to leave the wedding party to keep the peace, but I don't want her to. Ryan and my dad have told me they'll stand by me no matter what, but I just feel like someone will get hurt no matter what. Not the idiot. You're not honoring Julie as a parental figure. You're including her as your friend. If Jerry's genuinely hurt about the fact that he doesn't have that role in your or Ryan's life and not just on an ego trip, he needs to realize that making such a big deal out of it, that your mother feels like she needs to make some kind of dramatic stand in solidarity with him, is not going to improve the situation. I think it's 100% an ego trip. He's mad that he can't be included in an event not about him, and the mother seems to think he can do no wrong, which is a couple dynamic that I've always hated. I always expect my wife to tell me if I'm in the wrong, because the alternative would be me making an idiot of her and myself, which is what this is going to do to them. OP, tell Jerry that if he looks as good as Julie in a bridesmaid's dress, then he can be in the wedding party. Honestly, Jerry can attend as a guest. His role should be to give unsolicited advice to the poor guests who happen to be next to him. If he and your mother decide to be so petty that they'd instead not come because he's not getting a spotlight moment, well, that's on them. Enjoy your wedding and don't let your mom or anyone else guilt trip you.